melhor amiga. Tá, vocês talvez não estejam ouvindo ela, mas tudo bem, ninguém se importa. Mas hoje vai ter live contra, sobre os votos, o direito de voto. E bom, eu tô bem lagado, deu pra ver, né? Graças à merda do Fortnite que é a coisa... Eu tô gravando! Ih, anda! Pera, gente, eu vou colocar de um jeito, ver se dá. Agora tá dando? E aí, pessoal da live, valeu! Valeu aí, pessoal da live! Não sei quem é.
Não tem ninguém, só tem eu, seu júri meu.
Júri meu. Tá dando pra te ouvir na live?
Não.
Ah, então eu desisto. Vamos aparecer aqui os comentários, gente? Porque eu quero saber o que vocês querem comentar hoje. É que hoje eu... Desculpa, gente, meu controle tá bugado. Olha, 4 minutos. Vai começar o evento ao vivo, gente. Então, se prepara aí, pega uma pipoca e vamos embora. Eu sei, tá lagado. Não tem o que fazer, é muito lagado mesmo. E aí, galera? Vamos compartilhar uma música aqui? Eu vou pôr uma música aqui na live, top. Acabei de descobrir essa função, não sabia que existia essa bosta, mas... eu vou pôr a música da Cabeleireira Leila. Zoeira, eu vou pôr... qualquer música. Oi. Não, como assim você tava sem som? Eu tava te ouvindo. Calma aí, gente, eu tô pegando aqui o Spotify. Ih, não dá não, esquece. Agora não dá. Outro dia a gente põe uma musiquinha da hora aqui, dane-se. Falta só 3 minutos aí pro negócio, vamos... Quê? Ah, não, já voltou. É que quando eu vou em informações do menu, acontece isso mesmo. Aqui, ó, conversão de documentário em fala. Ih, calma aí, alguém tá me ligando. Pera, eu já volto, tá? Eu vou ter que desligar rapidão. É minha irmã! Não. Bye! Oi. Também tô. E bom, gente, calma aí. Também tô. Ah, sei. É, mas é bem perigoso mesmo. Calma aí. Calma aí. Que? Tô mesmo. Não. Fortnite. Free Fire, caramba. É, joga Free Fire o dia inteiro, seu toba. Tô gravando, tá, Bianca? Mas eles não estão te ouvindo. Do nada. Quem que é o Miguel? Meu amigo. Aí, gente, 5 segundos pro evento ao vivo aqui do direito dos votos. O controle, colabora. Aí.
The badge is better than having some heart. Okay, look now, look how they running. They beating white people down just to show us what's coming, or to show us we nothing, or to show us we only welcome when singing or balling. Shut up and dribble.
Hey everybody, I'm Carrie Champion. Welcome to We the People. So today we are having a very candid conversation with athletes and artists who want to make sure that you use your voice to vote. Voting is your voice. So we have so many different issues that have happened in this country. It's really, truly unprecedented. So I'm looking forward to these conversations. I think you'll be educated as well as entertained, but most importantly informed. We have morethanavote.org, whenweallvote.org, and fairfight.com. Those resources are imperative.
Olha que legal, Bianca, como que é esses eventos. Eita.
Yeah, la.
There's no way that we can talk about hip-hop, or even the fact that we want to talk about activism, black voter suppression, without bringing in this guy.
De vez em quando uma dancinha. Por exemplo, agora se eu assistir, tô vendo uma dancinha.
A scholar and an all-around gentleman. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Bun, I don't want to start heavy, but I guess I have to, because that's where we are in the world today. It's heavy as hell. And when you think about what needs to happen in this country in terms of change, what's the first thing that you think of?
Equality. That's pretty much the first thing that comes to mind, right? Black people need to be seen as equals in this world. You know, we had to fight just to be recognized as a full citizen in this country, and not 3/5.
3.500. Seeing what we've known for so long in the culture and in the community. The one way that we can fight is obviously voting. Talk to me about what voting means to you.
I hear people all the time talking about one vote doesn't matter and that voting doesn't make a difference. If that's true, why do they work so hard to suppress the black vote? Because they understand the power of the vote. And so it's time that black people collectively also understand the power of their vote. And not just on the national level, because a lot of times we only have this conversation every 4 years. People need to be very much involved in their local politics. They need to understand who their elected officials are, where they stand on issues that affect you. And you need to use your vote to either support the ones that care about you and your condition, or to elect people who do. The newer initiative that we're dealing with is educating felons, right? So in the state of Texas, if you're a felon, right, if you've been to jail or to prison, but you're no longer on probation or parole, you have the right to register to vote. Another thing that my attention is an initiative called Orange, which is happening not just in Houston, but all over the country. If you're in jail currently, during pre-trial, but you have not been convicted, like you're still in jail waiting for your day in court, you are still eligible to vote.
And you said something so key. They work so hard to hope that we stay uninformed, but more importantly, to suppress the black vote. If you could do one thing with this message that we're
Bom, gente, cheguei, eu vou ler aqui pra vocês. Que tipo de imagem você gostaria de que nós fosse... Calma aí, peraí, deixa eu ligar aqui pra você.
I think the images that we've all seen, you know what I'm saying, for decades in this country, if not centuries in this country.
Talvez centenas de anos as pessoas negras seriam oprimidas. Vemos pessoas sendo atacadas. Então quando olhamos para trás e vemos aquelas imagens antigas em preto e branco de ataque de... Não, eu não tô... Calma, meu filho, respira. Por favor.
People like Martin Luther King Jr.,
Martin
people
Luther
like
King e
Malcolm
Malcolm
X.
X.
These people
Lembra do
died
Martin
to help
Luther
us,
King, ô Alice?
be in a position to have the power that we have now,
É,
which
caiu
is
na prova,
to be
mas tá
able to
bom.
cast a vote
Que é do
and
poder
make
de
a
votar e
decision about the people
decidir
that
quais
have
pessoas
control
vão ter
of
no
our
controle
lives.
das nossas vidas.
So, I mean,
Então, se
if
você, na
if
própria
you in your own
comunidade,
community need a reason to
é
vote,
preciso
look
de
at a
motivo
person
para
like
votar,
George Floyd.
veja o
If the
caso
people
de
in
George
your
Floyd.
city are not
Se
open
as
to
pessoas
police
desse
reform, are not open to
Pera,
having
não
a
querem
conversation
conversar
about defunding
sobre a
the
redução do
police, are
orçamento
not
policial,
open to
não estão
issues
abertas a
concerning
dialogar,
economic
sempre
equality,
equidade,
judicial
nome,
equality,
equidade
racial equality,
judicial.
right? If
Calma,
they're
gente,
scared to
eles estão
say
muito
Black
rápido,
Lives
desculpa.
Matter, you have the power
Você tem
to
o
put
poder de
people in
colocar
those
os
positions
nossos
who do believe that
que
Black Lives
acreditam
matter,
que vidas
who do
negras
believe in
importam, que
racial
acreditam na
equality, economic
equidade
equality,
racial,
judicial
econômica e
equality,
judicial.
right? Who
Isso
see
mesmo.
us as human beings.
É, como
And if the people in
sua comunidade pensa
community don't feel
diferentes,
that way, vote them out.
tirem elas do
That's
voto,
simple.
simples.
Just vote them out.
Votem
We
outras
don't have enough
pessoas,
time
não temos
to sit
tempo para
around and
ficar
hope that people
parados.
change their minds.
Yeah, Bumby, you point out
É,
something
Bumbê.
so important. We have the power.
Nós temos o
And that is in
poder,
our
o poder é o
vote, and that is
voto.
with our voice, and that's how we use our voice.
Tá, pera.
I think of
Eu
where
penso
we
no
are right
momento
now,
em
people
que
say this
estamos
is a
de...
particular moment, but it is a movement.
Tá, então
Not
vocês
just
se
a
viram.
moment, it is a
Nossa.
movement. Why, in your opinion, was it
E nem... Não, você também não sabe ler.
Why was that the chosen brutality for people to say, oh my God, black people are still oppressed in this country? And it is.
Gente, desculpa, meu controle tá
I think
bugado.
it's twofold, Carrie. In so many different encounters between people of color and the police, there simply is no proof of what happened in the interaction. And so what happens is in a court of law, it tends to lean toward the policeman's point of view, right? In this case, we saw very clearly
Calma aí,
what
gente.
happened.
Eu já
I
volto.
think the other thing is due to the fact that everyone was at home, basically, during this time period in relation to the coronavirus, you couldn't avoid it, right? It was on every television station. It was on every social media platform. Everywhere you turn, you were constantly hit upside the head with this message. You see in the interaction that this man did nothing to deserve what happened.
That's right. And I think it's so well said, because if you think about it, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't.
Na divisão geral não valeu a pena, ele não precisava...
I think
Eita,
that
pera.
when you touched on something that a lot of people talk about, and that is now defunding the police. That has been such a huge conversation, but there's so many misconceptions
Não, já parou de falar
around
do George.
defunding and dismantling.
Não, já falou
If you
George
will,
Floyd também.
educate the audience.
All right, so most people, when
Tá,
they hear
voltei.
the term defund the police, they tend to think of, oh, they're going to take
Oh.
over our police department. Nothing could be further from the point.
Então.
Defunding the police means that in certain communities, even Houston, take for example, we had over $1 billion allocated to our police force. Now, what is that money being used for? Some of that money tends to be allocated towards riot shields, right? Pepper spray, right? That kind of thing. That's only used against the people that fund this budget, right? So why would the people want to supply the police with the means to oppress them? If the police are concerned about the situation in certain communities with a higher crime rate, well, higher crime rates tend to happen in communities where there's not employment opportunities, right? There's not a lot of social services, and people are going to do what they need to do to take care of themselves and their families. When the community has more opportunities for employment, more opportunities for upward mobility, then they tend to be less of a strain on the government. They tend to have a lower crime rate. And because of that, we'll have less need for the police in those communities.
Morto já. Mas enfim, gente, eles estão comentando um pouco sobre racismo, então vamos pôr uma skin negra. É bem importante isso, pelo menos para os jogadores de Fortnite. Vamos mudar aqui para uma skin negra. É o mínimo que a gente pode fazer, né? Estamos mudando para uma skin negra.
And we thank the people that do not look like
É
us
sim.
standing with us right now, because it's very important
Não dá pra ver, mas é.
that people who
Ela tá de
aren't black
pijama.
be involved. Because if black people could have gotten rid of racism, we would have done it hundreds of years ago. And so I'm trying to use my voice and my platform just to let people know that if they feel like I do, there's a number of places they can go to enact change in their community. People need to know about how their city council runs. They need to know that they have the ability to speak when city council meets, to let them know that that's not the way that they feel their city needs to be run. Those are not the places that they feel the money of their community needs to be allocated.
Gente, vocês devem estar tipo, meu Deus, os votos, legal. Eu tô tipo, minha mente tá tipo, cabeleireira, Leila. Alice, você tá prestando toda atenção e tal, minha mente tá tipo, cabeleireira, Leila.
And we need to just know that that's happening.
Absolutely, and it's always been with the people.
Eu
You know, if you
sei,
look
eu
at
sei.
Trayvon Martin's mother,
Eu tô até
Sabrina
prestando atenção, só
Fulton,
que minha
right?
mente tá meio
She
bugada,
felt
eles
that
falam
there
muito
was a
rápido.
system of racism and a system of oppression that led to her son's death. And so what did she do? She ran for city council, and she was elected city council. Our own former president, 44, Barack Obama, right, started in the community as an activist, ran for an elected position, became senator, ran for another elected position, and became president of the United States. So don't think that you can't make a difference. You know what I'm saying? You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a lot of power. Your voice is enough to make a difference.
Amen. I feel like I need to go out and run for
Oi?
something. You gave me a rousing speech there, sir. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this. When I talk to my brothers, I have to ask you, as a black man, how are you doing? Are you okay?
Tem uma visão bem privilegiada que eu assisti uma vez, que é boa.
So prayer definitely works for me. I have children and grandchildren who are watching me, who are encouraged by what I do, and they're proud of me right now, you know, and that's really what matters, you know. The change starts at home, you know, so as long as you have a support system that believes in what you're doing and supports you in what you're doing, you have everything you need to go out there and fight the good fight. And for those that don't, there's a community of people here to help you. So you can go to places like morethanavote.org. There are many different places that will encourage you, inform you, and they will put you with groups of people that feel like you, that are ready to take action. So no one has to go about this alone if they want to do it.
Yeah, we're stronger together. People have been saying it, but that has much more meaning now that we are in our movement.
Olha esse cara, mano, vai se ferrar.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Keep fighting the good fight.
Keep up the good fight.
Ah, não, vai se ferrar, na boa.
So our next guest, I have to admit, I'm a fan, but there are so many different people that we could talk to, and I thought it was so imperative.
Não é possível, eles conhecem o canal.
Her as Molly on the huge, successful show Insecure, HBO's Insecure. She also has a comedy special highlighting her Nigerian roots, and she's an amazing podcaster. Let's welcome in Yvonne Orji, everyone. You have such a beautiful way of making things funny, giving us our medicine with some candy, right? You bring all of that to your space. And right now, as you look across this country and how everyone is so broken and so upset, if it's not social injustice, it's the pandemic, it's depression, it's unemployment, the list goes on and on. How are you doing, quite frankly?
You know, I'm
Você lembra do nome dessa mulher aí?
In a way
sabe, aqui tem um fundo de planta. Você lembra o nome?
That will lead to ultimate joy. I know it sounds like
apareceu na tela, só que não dá pra ver.
I think I personally think that God put all of us on a global timeout. Like we just, you know, America hasn't done as good as other people when it comes to timeouts because everyone else is out playing at recess, and we're still in the principal's office hoping and wishing we can come out. But I think that if we settle into the timeout and really learn the lesson that we're supposed to learn from this season, I think we'll emerge better. We'll learn how to play well with others in more ways than one. And so personally for me, I'm taking this time to learn me in a new way. I feel like I'm being ushered into a new season, and I'm getting still. Because sometimes the busy confounds the work that we're supposed to actually be doing. You know, we're busy doing other stuff, but we got work that we need to do on the inside. And I'm leaning into it. I'm like, dang, I thought I was gonna be able to rest like everybody else. And God's like, nah, we got work to do.
You know what? And I think that's what everybody is saying about 2020. It's demanding that we be better. And you said it's a global timeout. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's like everyone sit down, be humble, to quote the great prophet Kendrick Lamar. But like, no, seriously, sit down and let's read.
Eu tô achando que esse evento vai dar uma dancinha grátis do TikTok. Eu não sei porquê, eu acho que tá. Eu não sei.
Within ourselves, within our nation. I think America is going through an unraveling right now, a much needed, a much necessary one, and I think
Para de comer o microfone, por favor.
Right? There is no, I was on the subway for an hour, so I didn't miss that.
Hélice de avião.
No, everybody was home. Everybody, you know, was watching when George Floyd died, and everybody, no one could hide.
É só eu tirar o fone de ouvido.
When Amy Cooper called the cops, like. This is a time where it's like, we can't pretend it away. We can't excuse
Agora
it
a gente não tá ouvindo.
No. It's a global timeout. Sit down, watch, and let's learn. And globally, it's like, hey, we were going business as
Oi.
usual, but it ain't usual no more. Like that hurts. Anytime change occurs, it's very uncomfortable. And so right now we're sitting with we're getting we're getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.
The minorities, we've been comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Mano, que cara chato, na moral.
Explains just the existence for whatever we want to do, how we break into our careers, how we live our lives, how we find ourselves one of the few or one of the first. And that's a lonely road. When you look at, and when you talk about this global timeout, everybody had to pay attention to Amy Cooper. Everyone had to pay attention to George Floyd. How is that helping us as a people, as a country, during our global timeout?
I think, well, we're not minorities, Carrie. You already know it. It's like these labels that they put on us. It's like the same way of saying like black on black violence.
De pôr a mão assim pra cima.
It's branding. Yeah, right. It's all branding.
You're right.
It's like white people ever.
Não existe no Fortnite.
There is no black on black violence. And if you say black on black violence, well then let's brand white on white violence. Like I watch.
Não é isso não. É uma dança, não é um gesto. Isso daí é um gesto.
So, I just even like, but to answer your question, what does that do? I think what everyone expected is what has happened in the past when the world was still open.
Meu Deus!
Right? In
15 minutos vai ter outro grupo. Eu tô até vendo que vai ser aquelas lives de 1h30 por exemplo.
To Sandra Bland, you had all of these lives lost. And
que horas são, hein? Oi.
We rioted. We got out in the streets. We started the Black Lives Matter movement. All of those things. And then and then white people kind of just like, oh, let's give them something, and then it's just like, is it over? It's like.
Gente, eu já volto, tá?
Okay, good.
Eu acho que eu vou comer, não sei.
Are we good now? Like, are we even?
Vamos deixar aqui pra vocês
and
verem.
then now it's just like, oh no. This is not about like a Band-Aid. It's like, yo, we might have to amputate the leg a little bit, but it's all right because by amputating the leg, we're gonna save the body. And so I think that's what's happening now. Like, America is realizing, like, oh, black people aren't just making a little bit of noise. Like, the protests are still out. The conversations are still being had. The change is still being demanded. And I think they're seeing, oh, this is not going no way. And no, it's not, because we need systematic change.
What a beautiful way to explore what is happening and describe our country. We might have to amputate the leg, but that's to save the body. That's what's happening right now. That's beautiful, Yvonne. And to that end, I have to ask you this, because the way that we do that, we use our voice. And our voice right now in this world, in this country, is our vote. And everyone talks about voting and how important it is, but I feel like more than ever we understand that it's not just about voting every 4 years for the man in office. It's about your local elections. It's about the mayor. It is about the district attorney, the people who have the power to bring charges against police if police brutality is an issue in your community. If you care about your school district, you can run for the school board. I ask this of you, right? Your parents are from
Eu tô achando que eu vou comer e eu já volto, tá, gente?
You talk about that very lovingly. What is
então
voting
é isso,
mean
já volto. Fui!
I think voting is power. I remember, I became a naturalized citizen back in the 90s when, because I was still a minor, my mom naturalized, and so we were able to do it under her. And just even that power of, like, we are American citizens and all the access that we have by being citizens, one of those accesses and those access to power being voting. It's a big deal. It's a big deal because not only do we have the opportunity to be in this country, but now we can be of the country. We can be of the systems. We can be of the rules. We can be of what it actually affords. But I think going back to your earlier comment about just the setup of systems, I think we are done a disservice, either it's schools or whatever it is, and I'm not putting teachers on blast. I think teachers do a phenomenal job, but for some reason, we do not, and give them all the reasons. I know too many parents who are like, this child of mine, I do love them, but hey, where can I drop them off? And I do think that there is a disservice done because, again, when we talk about this, to your point, we talk about every 4 years. It's important to vote for the presidency. We don't realize, like, oh, snap, we actually can vote about, like, how much our libraries get. It's like small things like that, but they make a big difference.
When you think of voter suppression in this country, what does it look like for you?
it's the systems. When we talk about voter suppression, we also talk about systematic racism, right? It's all the systems that set up, and we've normalized. Okay, maybe your job will give you a half day, or maybe you'll be able to get this luxury. It shouldn't be a luxury. It should be built into the system. It should be built into the fabric of how we vote. But maybe you'll be able to get this luxury in order to enable you to go vote. Think about everything disenfranchised, marginalized Black person has to endure in a day. So in a day, you need to get to work. If something happens to your car, if something happens to your child care, if something happens to, there's so many factors along the way that can send you into a tailspin as an American. And then you add on as a person of color. If you're just trying to get to vote and you already have to go through all of these hurdles and hoops in your everyday life, imagine the one day when your voice really is supposed to matter the most in this country. But then you also see all the times that you tried to have your voice matter, and then it's been shut down, repressed, told it doesn't matter, and then you're kind of like, what's the point?
How do we keep hope though? If I'm watching this right now, how do we as a people stay hopeful? How do we believe in the promise that these quote unquote forefathers have given us?
Because have you met Black people? By default, like hope is infused in our DNA. Like you know what I'm saying? Like if we haven't been broken now through, be it through slavery, through capitalism,
Give it to me.
colonization, through segregation, through I mean, the history of Black people in this country is at one point we were 3/5 the people.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That was a written law. And look at us now. We are whole. We are Black girl magic. We are Black boy joy. We are, you know what I'm saying? What I think about in terms of giving us hope, right? We're making a lot of people nervous right now, Carrie. We're making a lot of people nervous right now because they're like, dang, we put all these obstacles in their way, and these jokers are resilient. But that should give us hope. That should give us hope that, like, we can't stop, won't stop. I mean, I went to the school of Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Hashtag, Harlem shaking it right now. Can't stop, won't stop. And I think that's our motto. We can't stop voting, and we won't stop voting. We can't stop marching, and we won't stop marching. We can't stop thriving, and we won't stop thriving.
To that end, because you led me directly there, I've been asking everyone who's appeared on this platform, what does activism look like? And I feel like back in the day, we had an idea. Yes, it is marching. Yes, it is protesting. Yes, it is speaking out against things that we feel are not right or unjust. But talk to me about what activism looks like for Yvonne Orji.
Listen, activism, I think the beauty of activism is that it has many faces, right? You're going to have the people on the front lines. Like, you know what? Martin Luther King marched, but there were a lot of women who were in the homes like, hey, BT Dubs, when they come back, this is how we support all the people who are marching on the front lines. And we're going to be here doing what we know to do best here. And you know what? Somebody needs to bail them out of jail so now we need to be in the community, getting money or whatever it is. So it's like everybody has a position to play. And so play your position like a shortstop, bruh. So whoever you are and whatever you do, play your position. So activism could look like, you know what? I'm not the one that's built to be on the front line, but you know what? My pockets go deep, so I'm gonna support the people on the front line. I'm a comedian. Black joy is a form of activism.
There's always a call for entertainers or celebrities that have the platform to do something. Why aren't you speaking out? I'm not a believer in thinking that it's mandatory. Like you said, everyone can be an activist and be activated in different ways. But talk to me about the connection. Talk to me about the marginalization in your world and how you feel like it even inspires you to say more and use your platform to do more.
Beneath the surface of what we do, like Niecy Nash says, it's the who, right? The who is the person who's going to be like, hey, let me call this out. Either blind racism, in terms of overt racism, in terms of ways that we can be better, in terms of ways that we can actually be more uplifting to the community that you may not even realize that you're serving.
Before I let you go, talk to me about the urgency, in your opinion, for people to vote, our people to get out and vote this coming election.
Yeah, I mean, guys, if you think you're tired now, I'm tell you right now, we cannot take this sitting down. We can't take this jokingly. I understand that it may be hard to figure out who to vote for, but at the end of the day, we got to vote for our families. We got to vote for our legacies. We got to vote for continued progress. We have to vote for upward mobility. We have to vote for equality in a way that is long lasting. And if we succeeded before, we can do it again. You talk about the whole. This is the time. This is not the time to give up. This is not the time to pretend away that we haven't made progress. We have. There's still much more to be done. And you know what? We might have to get to a point where we pass the baton to our children and our children's children, but we still have work to do now for that generation.
Yvonne Orji, you are everything. You are Molly, but you are not Molly, but I love you so much as Molly on HBO's Insecure. You are an amazing podcaster, Jesus and Jola. Shout out to Lovey. And then we also have movies. Like you, The World, you're a model, a cover model. Also, wait, don't let me forget your hugely successful stand-up comedy special on HBO. Girl, you're doing it all. And I am so grateful. You're truly the dream, not just the American dream. You're the black girl, brown girl, do it all dream, the immigrant dream, everything. You're a beautiful, beautiful soul. I really, really mean that from the bottom of my heart. Yvonne Orji, ladies and gentlemen, nothing but the best and excellence personified. Thank you so much.
I love you so much, Mama. Mwah.
Yeah, la.
So Atlanta has been one of the hotbeds in terms of political unrest and social injustice. We've seen so much happen in that city, and we've also seen so much come from that city, including one of our very own founding fathers of the civil rights movement, and that's Martin Luther King Jr. But right now, we want to welcome in someone who has used his platform to talk about voting, to talk about racial injustice, and how he's trying to help. Atlanta's very own Russ joins us now on We the People. Russ, I'm not going to fan out and tell you what some of my favorite songs were that I listened to repeat on yours. We're going to get to the topic at hand. So amazing. We got to talk about, recently you did an interview where you shared your outlook on culture and music. And you also were very candid about the fact that you have a privilege and that it's necessary for you to give back. Tell everybody about what that means.
It's very obvious, I'm white and I'm in black culture and I'm benefiting financially off of it. So I feel like if you're a white person financially benefiting off of black culture, you have to put finances back into black culture. It's just that simple. The screenshots with your feelings, it just comes off like fake empathy because it comes off very dismissive and very oh, that sucks for y'all, but anyway, back to what I was doing.
Have you felt that way always, or is it now because of the time where we are in this country?
I've always had the feeling. I think now it's just obviously elevated. It's a new level and there's new, it's to the point now where you can't, first of all, you can't not say anything. Second of all, though, I just think saying something isn't enough anymore. I think, if you have the ability to put money back into a culture that you're financially benefiting from, have the ability to, you should.
It's interesting that you talk about it in that way because some people do believe that silence is the best way to go because it's hard to talk race, especially if you're white and you're in black culture. People just feel as if they can't talk about it. They feel awkward. They feel as if they don't have the privilege or the voice or the words. How do you find yourself right now in terms of interacting with people when they want to talk to you about social injustice, police brutality? What's going on in this country right now?
Well, first of all, picking and choosing whether you want to be silent or not about race, that's a privilege in and of itself. But no, I try to just do my best to listen to the black people around me and the educated black people I have in my life. So I do my best to not act like I have all the answers for everything, especially in a culture that I'm not from. But that's why when we decided to raise the money for Black Lives Matter organizations, when we raised $500,000, we got on the phone with some of the women who started Black Lives Matter. I got on the phone with Tamika Mallory. I was on the phone with Karen Civil and talking with my friends to make sure the money went to the correct places, and people who really need it. It's just about listening. That's all. It's about listening.
Let's talk about that for a moment because the way I think of activism, for me, it looks very differently. It's not necessarily just protesting on the front lines. I think that's great. But what about being an activist in the way in which you have decided to be one? What inspired you? What did it look like? You said you raised money for Black Lives Matter. What did you do?
Mhm.
Walk us through everything that you did and how you find yourself in this moment right now.
So for me, it was 3 years ago. I had like a string of festivals, and I decided that I was going to wear T-shirts with a message on them because I figured, what better, what better time to use a platform than in front of a bunch of people. So one of the T-shirts I wore was, if you want to change the system, speak up. White silence is pro-racism, the whole thing. And it didn't really it kind of got swept under the rug back then. But when all this stuff started happening again, and it's been happening, the police brutality against innocent black people, I was like, man, I'm not the biggest artist in the world, and I certainly don't have the most white fans in the world, but I got a good amount of people that I can definitely mobilize and turn into some money. And I know they're down for the cause because it's merch, it's a good thing. And I've always been outspoken anyway, And so how am I going to be in black culture and not be outspoken about racism?
And then I got to ask you this, because you grew up in Atlanta, so that gives you a heads up, depending for so many people, because you're in the crux of that beautiful black city where there are so many wonderful black leaders, home of so much great music and things that speak to our culture right now. And we are really, really getting our word out, especially with this platform today, and saying that we must use our voice to vote. Talk to me about what the importance of voting for you in this upcoming election.
Yeah, so full transparency, I had never voted before, ever. And because, I was one of those people who was like, my vote doesn't matter. And, I don't know, maybe it's because I was younger, maybe it's because I really thought that, or I don't know, but I just think that it's got to, now this is a bit of a privilege to say it's got to a breaking point for me, because obviously it's been past the breaking point for black people. But I think that as a whole, the young people need to get out and vote, because we're the ones that
Tá me ouvindo? Alô? Oi, gente, o que aconteceu? Putz, não. O que aconteceu? Eu saí do evento? Uai. Me liga aí, ô Alicia. Me liga aí. Cabeleireira Leila. Cabeleireira Leila. Pera aí. Oh, do nada eu saí do evento ao vivo. Eu jantei. Eu fui jantar. Fui ver. O vovô ainda tá lá. Que outro? O que você tá falando? Não! Eu tô falando no evento, entendeu? Sei lá. Já terminou de jantar? Todo mundo tá conversando. Não, valeu. Você tem alguma série pra me recomendar? Tem alguma série pra me recomendar? Meu Deus. O banana descascado é muito engraçado.
They're speaking up for these things, and it's okay to want to play baseball. It's not lame. It's not something I have to be as afraid of as I was.
Qual?
I feel like that's my role in this. I have a younger brother as well. He's 24. He also plays baseball. So I've got to just always come up with a good answer that sounds good on TV. When I get asked a question on what do we need to do to make changes, so I'm joining up here to make sure that I take action and get educated myself. For one, so many people, I feel like in Atlanta, they're on the move. Well, when you want to try to make a vote and try and cast your vote, you have to do it by mail. You have to sign up for the absentee ballot. Then you have to get another ballot in return. They have to send it back to you. Well, for me personally, they didn't send that back until it was too late. Right? We didn't get it in the mail to the address at my parents' house. We didn't get that in the mail until it was too late.
Tô ouvindo nada, mas tá.
Other friends and family that are still in Georgia right now, I just hear about them being held in lines too long and trying to get off work. And you know how it is for any family, but let alone for a black family in the city or in
Agora só tô com o fone. Sabe? Desligou ou terminou o evento? Não, tinha bugado mesmo.
To me in Georgia, that's what that looks like.
Tá, mas quando eu puder já pôr, você me avisa aí na live.
Because there have been all these images, specifically from Georgia, because that's such a battleground, where you see people, especially when it came to the primaries, doing whatever it takes. And this is real life voter suppression that you're talking about. It's been happening.
Calma aí, não fala mais nada. Eu vou colocar aqui rapidão. Pronto. Coloquei.
People still are in line. That's a real life
Sei lá, eu
issue.
tirei o
There
fone.
needs to be some type of change, and I think that what we're doing right now is fair. But the idea of voter suppression, do you think that is well known, especially with folks, within the generation, your generation?
I think it's
Gente, a qualidade da conexão não tá boa, então não vai dar pra ver a tela por um tempo. Mas tá bom.
Bring it to light. Let people hear about it.
Acho que eu vou colocar de novo, tá?
And get more people to say, okay, look, this is going to happen. We have to expect this, and we can no longer make the excuse.
No.
We can't say they didn't want us.
Jason, everybody knows, or it feels as if everyone knows that the time is now.
Peraí,
America's paying attention to us. We have their eyes, we have their ears. If you look toward the future, what are you most excited about?
Nossa, tá bom, não confia em mim, tá bom.
I'm excited about how fast the word is traveling. That the word is being
Não, valeu.
the biggest athletes, the biggest icons, biggest entertainers, are doing their part, but I'm also seeing people out there on the streets doing their part. So when so many things got lost, could have very easily got in the commotion, protests, and saw rioting, people still stood their ground. People still went out there and said, look, we're doing this for the right reasons.
Tá, mas você sabe que... Pera aí, pai!
Social medias. I feel like this is the new way of getting things
Você tinha... Folgada.
You're right about that.
Você tá me ouvindo? Você disse põe, aí você disse pus.
Yeah, la.
Hey everybody, I am so excited to welcome a friend,
Abacate com
brother,
granola é bom.
family member, if you will, former
Pode pôr.
colleague, NBA great, sports analyst, philanthropist, he does it all. He's here to give us his time and his platform to talk about something that is so important, that is...
Gente, eu não tô conseguindo voltar pro evento, socorro. Falei uma coisa muito impactante. Uma coisa muito impactante. Abacate com granola é bom. Mano, eu não consigo voltar pro lugar do evento, socorro!
Governors, mayors, senators, judges. We've been conditioned to believe.
Por que, meu Deus? Não, pera, põe em fone de novo.
Not only did they not look like us, we didn't believe they were there.
Sei lá, pera.
So therefore, as an elected, we would mobilize.
A Alice é doida. E eu não sou amigo dela. Pronto. Tá, pode colocar. Oi? Eu não vou falar. Só se você falar o que você disse. Uai, eu disse uma coisa bem importante.
We didn't vote. And so many people try to make this political.
Tá.
This is not political. Me telling somebody to vote is like telling somebody to pay taxes. So that's one, getting over the stigma of nobody is going to represent our best interest. And then number two, the reality is that the person that
Gente, agora eu preciso só chegar na área do show de novo. Ah, tá ali.
win the presidency. That's uncomfortable right there.
Ali o show.
Because that's actually
Não
what
vou
took place in
nesse show.
2016. The Electoral College chose the president. And if you put all of their pictures up, I'm pretty sure they look a lot
Tá,
more
olha isso, eu vou
like
colocar de
each
novo,
other
tá?
than they look like you and I. How about that? And then the third thing,
Ali, tá.
especially in
Oi,
urban environments,
pus.
oh man, they create barriers for us, Carrie. It's like you got to jump over the fence, you got to run past the dog,
Não.
you got to jump on the hood of the car. The lines is 5
Quer que eu falo o que você disse? Sabe o que eu falo o que você... O que eu disse?
Elderly people working in the city, where they got the young
A Alice
people who
é irritante
understand
e eu não sou amiga dela.
technology working in the suburbs. Like these are all systematic things that
Seu
try
melhor
to
amigo.
discourage us from voting. And then finally,
Desce,
we
papá.
don't have a day off to vote. We need to work.
Tá, e
So
você, o
we
que você
don't get
disse?
a day off. It's gonna be a full day, and I gotta work to pay my bills. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna mail in vote. And you know what you want people
Eu
to
não sei.
realize that
Talvez sim, talvez não. Sei lá.
So your vote will be counted if you're able to mail it in. So those are a few things that I hope that we can do in mobilizing. Shouts to LeBron and his team. Shouts to you and everybody involved. We will make a difference.
Well, let's talk about more than a vote. There is a black collective of athletes, artists, coming together and saying voter suppression is a real deal, especially in the black community.
Nossa, que maravilha, vamos fazer isso agora. É agora que a gente vai fazer isso.
And then when we do get in the booth, just in case we don't have to work, do we know who we're voting for? Not only do we have to vote, we got to be educated. And it's not always even about the man who's president. It's about your local elections. It's about the people who are...
Esse troço vai dar ruim.